Welcome to Moto Mouse, the podcast for MotoGP, motorsports, and more. I'm your host, Zoe, and... Suck a dick, Christian Horner.
Yeah, I'm your other host, also named Zoe, and I'd like to formally welcome you to the Christian Horner is Over party.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
I'm having a blast.
Fun. I'm having a blast. I am so glad we did not record earlier this week.
I know. For our loyal listeners, I've been traveling. Zoe has been dealing with medical
what I thought
issues.
Was an ear infection, but wasn't.
Ooh,
wild.
Suspicious. And then we both woke up this morning, the day of our recording, to the best news. Like, I woke up this morning feeling refreshed and rejuvenated, and I didn't know why. And then I looked at my phone.
Where there's multiple texts from me saying, wake up!
The first thing I saw was the F1 app notification. And it is the first time I think F1 has ever been timely with news a day in their life.
This morning, the sun was shining, the birds were singing, and Christian Horner
was crying as he walked out of the office.
Carrying a box of his mini helmets.
I don't fucking care about what he's carrying. Get his ass out of my villa. I am watching Love Island, you may ask. And I am a Nicolandria stan. I am literally having the best week of my goddamn life right now.
I have no idea what happens on Love Island. I don't watch it.
You should. I think you'd like it.
I think we'll get into the Christian Horner Red Bull Racing, Silverstone fuckery of it all in a minute. But first, not to talk about Jorge Martin. My
fave
2 minutes at the top of the pod. Jorge Martin. What's up with Jorge?
Honestly, quick update, he didn't hurt himself when he got back on a MotoGP bike. So maybe it isn't cursed.
So he got on the Aprilia.
Yes. So there was a small test at Misano this week. He got back on a MotoGP bike. About a week and a half ago, he got on, I don't know exactly what kind of bike it was, but he got on a bike in Barcelona. So this week was his first time back on a MotoGP bike in about 3 months. He said he felt good. He's already been ruled out health-wise for Sachsenring, but he said he confirmed he's trying to come back for Brno, which is in about a week and a half, and we'll see if he gets cleared for riding that, because that's his goal. So we'll see. Who knows? This time next week, you might be getting ready to watch Jorge Martin compete for the first time ever.
I'm not holding my breath, frankly.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair and right.
No race in MotoGP this week.
I know. I was sad. It was quiet. What was I supposed to do without the love of my life?
MotoGP.
Marc Marquez. He is, as of today, it's Wednesday. He is supposed to be getting checked at, I believe, at the Sachsenring on Thursday for medical checks. He's planning on racing this weekend. He's a couple, I think he's maybe 2 or 3 GPs worth of points ahead of Pecco. So he has a little breathing room, but not a ton.
In case he's not ready.
Right. And every point I think right now matters because Pecco, as we've discussed, is really focused on making sure he can do the best with what he's got. He's very mindset shifted after his whole apology tour. Pecco's done well this track before. There's a good chance he could do well here. And Alex, I think, to his perspective, doesn't want any point to get away from him, even though he got a broke hand.
If we're shifting into our Sachsenring coverage, can I make an admission?
Yes.
This has happened to me with the German language before. I saw Sachsenring spelled out for the first time.
Yeah, it's a rough one for the English.
And I thought that was Sachsen.
Yeah.
And so I just assumed that Saxon, because, Saxon is also a common spelling, was 2 separate places. I also thought for a very long time in my life that dachshunds and dashhounds were 2 different dogs.
Listen, I'm not making fun of you on that one. That's a rough one.
So that's my admission with Sachsenring. I know how you are spelled now. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me viscerally uncomfortable. German's a disgusting language.
It's kind of grown on me, I'll be honest. I think there's something romantic about the Sachsenring, and I mean romantic in the thematic way, the genre, not quite like love.
Like the era of poetry.
Exactly, where I think it was Matt Oxley last year talked about our peer, Matt Oxley,
Shout out to Matt Oxley.
Talked about Marc on their podcast, saying that Marc is like an ancient like general going to war with like a huge axe. And basically like creating this image of Marc, which I think is largely true, that I don't think he knows what like no looks like in a lot of ways as a competitor. And so there's something about just like the gutturalness of the Sachsenring and like the rhythmicness of King of the Ring Marc Marquez. Like it is in its own way, I think, romantic while also being horrible to look at written out.
His big axe, you say?
That is what Mr. Oxley said.
Not big
No,
ass?
no, that's not what we were talking about.
But he does have that too.
He has that, but it just wasn't the topic of conversation at the time.
Nevertheless, he'll go riding into Sachsenring with both.
Yeah, one metaphorical and one not. And we'll leave you to decide.
Which is which.
I do have one other thing I want to talk about before we go into predictions. This is like something I just read that, again, this is being reported. So nothing is being said straight from the horse's mouth, but it's being reported that Valentino Rossi is already thinking of ways to avert Marc Marquez from reaching his 10th overall class world championship. If he won this year, he'd be reaching 9. So he's already looking at next year. And Pedro Acosta in a VR46 Ducati is apparently the way he will keep Marc Marquez from winning his 10th championship. That was my face as well.
I love being delusional.
And listen, who is better at being delusional than Valentino Rossi, I ask? No one.
No one.
Like, he taught me some things, and I love him for that.
Love him. King of Delulu.
No, like, say that, King. Go ahead.
Put that on your vision board. Add it to Pinterest.
Manifest it, sure. I do think it's funny that reportedly he's already just washed his hands of 2025. It's a long season. There's a lot that could still happen.
So what's going to happen at Sachsenring?
Okay, so a couple of things about the Sachsenring. The Sachsenring is one of the shortest tracks on the MotoGP calendar. It is tight. It is twisty. It is pretty narrow. And it is almost entirely left-handed turns. And you know what that means?
I heard that this guy, his name's Marc. I heard he's really good at left-handed turns.
Yeah, I also heard that. I think you might be right. That one guy, Marc. The other thing about this track is that it's immensely important to keep an eye on your tire management because there are so many left-handed turns. The left side of your tires are going to be chewed the fuck up and the right side of your tires are going to be cold as hell. Who else is really good at that?
The smart guy.
Yeah, man.
Man, how many times has he won at this circuit?
Well, yeah. That one guy, Marc Marquez, has won 11 Sunday GPs at this circuit over the course of his career through all classes. He is looking for his 12th this weekend. And what's crazy too is I think it was Assen. He went in saying, this is a weekend for me to defend, which everyone was like, okay, you liar. This weekend, he's already said on record, this is a weekend for me to attack. I have to come in strong.
Oof.
So who the hell knows what that means?
Big ol' axe.
Big ol' axe. I think we've talked about this a lot. Like, this is just something I'm keeping up with this year, is the runs of crazy success he's had at the Sachsenring were on the Honda. He did really well last year. He had a series of crashes through the weekend where he broke a couple of ribs and broke a finger.
Yeah.
Which was bad. And then ended up qualifying, I think, around 13th for the weekend. And then by Sunday, ended up in P2. There is so much pressure, I think, here more than in Coda, more than in Aragon in some ways, to do well. And I think this is where he feels kind of like this is his track. I'm very curious to see this weekend if we're going to see a Marc who really runs away with it like he's done a couple of times this year, or if it's going to be more of the Ducati might not do so well here, so he only runs away with it a little bit. I'm just interested in like the disparity there.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. I mean, I will. What else am I going to do?
I have no idea. So would you like to make your predictions?
I would. I think I'm going to go with a Marc P1. I know, crazy after all of the things I just said out loud. I'm going to go with a Pecco P2. I'm feeling confident. It is crazy how like for the last month, I've been like, I feel confident. I feel hopeful. And Pecco has by and large not rewarded me, but it's fine. And then I'm going to go with a Frankie P3 because Frankie does like it here. He's won here, I think, in Moto 2. He's done well here in MotoGP in the past. And that is a quick side note. I'm very interested to see how the VR46 infighting goes this year at Sachsenring because he and Digia, I think, are within like 5 or 6 points of each other. And I want to see. Fail King. I'm going to go Pedro Acosta. Why not? We were just talking about him.
Yep.
Also, bonus P4, Marco Bezzecchi. Why not?
All right. Go off, Queen.
I feel like he's on an up, like a run.
Yeah. I'm going to go Marc Marquez P1.
Love it.
Frankie Morbidelli P2.
Ooh.
Johan Zarco P3.
Man, I do always forget about Johan Zarco.
And you know what? He's vibrating in the universe for me right now.
For all of my Amaya Papaya enjoyers out there, if there's one thing about me, it's that I'm a circle. And if there's a second thing about me, it's that I forget about Johan Zarco.
What the fuck did you just say?
That is a Love Island reference. Get cultured.
Okay, I guess. And then for Fail King, going Pecco.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's
Good as Gus as any.
Yeah. I'm excited. I am, in all honesty. I'm always excited about MotoGP. Should we move on to the great, big, wide world of motorsport?
I think we shall. I had a horrible weekend last weekend.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of bad Sundays in this season of Formula One.
And really only like 2 good ones.
Yeah, this one was the worst Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. So let's take a quick look at our predictions to kick things off, and then we'll go from there. Last week for Silverstone, you said Lewis Hamilton P1. You said Oscar Piastri P2. Good job.
Nailed it.
P3, you said Fernando Alonso.
I was hoping. I had joy and love in my heart. Okay.
Yeah. And then for Fail King, you said Charles, which, yeah. And then I said Lewis Hamilton P1. So sad. I said George Russell P2, also very sad. P3, Oscar Piastri, not great. Fail King, Charles. So we both got Fail King right. Charles legitimately wanted to kill himself after this race and during the race.
Was it an F1 race where Charles raced for Ferrari when he didn't want to kill himself at one point?
No.
Like many such cases.
Truly, the cases that are such are many. I think that it is an indictment of the weekend when commentary on F1 TV says you have the world's greatest wet weather driver battling a Williams for P9.
There's like qualifying information there. Max and the Williams weren't fighting each other on a level playing field.
So let's start from the beginning.
What Red Bull did, and this is, I think, one of the only things that I can take as a positive from this weekend. Red Bull was having a shit few practices. Everybody knows this. And then I don't know when they decided to do it, but they decided to go for a really low downforce setup before qualifying.
Right.
And so that's where Max got a lot of that speed for qualifying. Obviously fucking nailed it in qualifying and would have had that kind of speed on Sunday because they had predicted it wasn't going to rain. Unfortunately, this is England and it did rain. And I will say, crazily, that level of rain, that heavy rain is out of the norm.
Yeah, sustained heavy rain.
Max was fucked from day fucking 1. I mean, hour 1 of that like whole Sunday event. He was fucked. He knew it. Everyone knew it. There's no way they could have gone into Parc Fermé. That's the whole thing. You can't break Parc Fermé. It was Max doing his job, one of the only people who can do his job in the way that he can. And that's why I also say, and this is, I think, an issue with commentary too. Like, I have a lot of grace and empathy for commentary because it's an incredibly difficult job and there's so much information to just keep on hand all the time. But with situations like these, you're irresponsibly doing your job by making a blanket statement of saying the best wet weather driver in the world is beefing with Williams. Like, what are we doing here? That's not a legitimate argument when Max has basically been, he has like his hands tied behind his back. He's driving with one foot and like half blindfolded. Like that's the equivalent to do that and then be like fighting for points. I think it is what I expect from Max in that situation. Yes. Anyone else is going to be in P14. And the thing is, that situation as a whole is depressing. I won't lie. It really sucked watching the race, knowing that if it hadn't fucking rained, we would be watching like a Max Verstappen
Masterclass.
But it did. And so ultimately, I think the thing I take away from this weekend when we were talking about like Max and Red Bull, aside from like the thing that happened today, is that Red Bull is finally feeling confident or like balls to the wall enough to just try shit. And the thing is, it would have worked. It would have worked.
It would have worked.
And that is the shit I need from Red Bull right now. Clearly, the car is not at its baseline enough to beat a McLaren. Try some crazy shit and then give Max enough rope to hang the McLarens with. That's what needs to happen. And that is what has not happened in the last year. All right, rant over.
Max Verstappen spins out of P1.
And again, I want to make it so clear. He has such low downforce.
Yes.
That his wheels are sliding while everyone else has grip.
He could have flown off the track.
And he almost did 8 million times.
All of the rookies are murdered this weekend.
Yeah, there was one rookie standing.
One rookie standing. Congrats, Ali Behrman, for, I guess, being British. But every single other rookie died. I'm blanking. What crash was it that got Oscar to the virtual safety car?
Oh, I can't remember who crashed. Everybody crashed. Here's the thing. There were 8 million safety cars. I also do want to say they should have red flagged this race at least once.
Yes.
I think that is a failure on behalf of the stewards because the majority of the race was so wet that like you couldn't see anything. Like the back spray from all of the cars meant that me watching on TV, I couldn't see anything. And I know damn well they could not see anything on the actual track, which is a huge fucking safety issue. So there were like 8 million crashes at one point. This is early-ish on in the race when Max is in P2 because Oscar initially overtook him for P1. Safety car comes out. There's a lot of little things you need to deal with from like a regulations perspective, but also keeping heat in your inters. The second those drop out of the beneficial temperature for operating in the wet, you're fucked. So you have to keep the heat up in those. So they're like squirming around on the track behind the safety car. And what ends up happening is for some reason, Oscar Piastri slams on the brakes. And I think slams on them so hard, it's something like a
70 PSI drop.
Exactly. And that concertinas all the way back down to like P15. And everybody behind Oscar is trying to avoid collisions.
Max is ahead of him, Lando's ahead of him, and then this is still just right as the safety cars ended.
Safety car was still out.
It was still out. It had been green flag, but the safety car was still out. So obviously Max and them had to pull back.
The issue is from like a regulations perspective. The rule on this is really vague, and I think a lot of rules end up being vague in this way because stewards want to have some kind of wiggle room. They love to be like, oh, you know, like we don't take into account the consequences of a specific thing, but they definitely do. And I think this is one of those situations in which they do. The rule is very vague and basically says anything that could be qualified as, quote, erratic driving or braking behind the safety car is penalty-worthy behavior. They qualify this insane brake from Oscar Piastri as worth a penalty, and then they drop 10 seconds on him, which across the board, people seem to think is pretty harsh for this kind of penalty. I think on the one hand, you have stewards who I think aren't wrong in saying this concertinaed all the way back. We're in an incredibly wet race. This could have ended incredibly badly. And I think they did take those consequences into account, in my mind.
The issue with this rule is that it's not applied evenly. George Russell was not penalized for something very similar. And when it comes to the fact of Oscar Piastri's, it doesn't seem like they were factoring wet into the other penalties that were handed out during the race. So for there to be a 10-second penalty when yes, there could have been collisions because it was a wet race and the visibility was low, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but no collisions occurred. That to me is where the overreaction is and why it should have been a 5-second penalty.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think across the board, stewarding is a very hard job. We don't, as viewers, like we don't make it easier, but it's not a job that is without bias or without outside influence. And it should be reconsidered as often as possible, I think.
And this is where my conversation with my dad last night comes in, because he asked, what was the controversy about this weekend's race? And I said, which one? And he said, didn't some guy almost do something? And I was like, yes.
Again, many such cases.
The issue is that Oscar could have very well created a 10-second gap between him and Lando. There was not a 10-second gap at the time, but I have faith in the guy. He could very well build up a 10-second penalty. He's told that he has a 10-second penalty, or say, drive clean, try and build a barrier, whatever. Later at the end of the race, and we're skipping over a whole bunch of stuff because a lot of stuff happened this weekend. We've got Lance Stroll up in P3 at one point. Lance Stroll and Nico Hulkenberg
on the podium,
duking it out for P3.
Lewis Hamilton and Nico Hulkenberg going at it. Charles Leclerc trying to commit ritual suicide.
Just so much is happening. Tony Hawk was there. So much was happening. Towards the end of the race, George Russell decides that he's going to pit for slicks. It stopped raining a little bit. The track is very slowly starting to dry up. However, the racetrack is pretty waterlogged at this point.
None of it was going anywhere, which was the crazy thing.
It wasn't really going anywhere. So George Russell comes out, immediately does a fucking 760 Tony Hawk kickflip spin.
Spins the fuck out.
He is slipping and sliding. Fernando Alonso also made this decision, also slid.
That was really funny.
He went first. He was like, fuck it, I don't care. So now you've got a chain reaction of people deciding when to go for slicks. And the other question at hand is, do they even need to go for slicks? I don't think so.
The answer is no. They definitely didn't.
They definitely didn't. It's a gamble all around. One that poorly affected George. McLaren decides to call Oscar in to put him on slicks, thus giving the lead to Lando Norris.
I've probably said this before. I had faith in Oscar, at least putting his foot down on some things, but it is becoming more and more apparent to me that Oscar is never going to actually fight McLaren on anything.
In his defense, he did make a very Lando Norris-coded request to switch after he came out of the pits behind Lando.
If I'm being honest, that should have happened.
I agree.
There's no world in which coming in for a 10-second on top of your pit stop penalty makes any sort of sense. You are the race leader. You've been the race leader the whole race. Your teammate is in second. This is the exact moment where those fucking stupid papaya rules actually could make sense. Because this is Oscar's race.
Yes.
This is Oscar's. He has won this.
From the beginning. And they've done this before. When Lando has come out ahead of the pits before, or Oscar's come out of the pits before, and somebody's been in the lead the whole race, they have swapped. It's happened multiple times now.
Or they could have pit Lando first. There was already enough of a gap between. A
40-second gap at some point. It was ridiculous.
I hate this season so much for a variety of reasons, most of which I know you agree with. Not least of which is the fact that this season is such a fucking mid-off of drivers. Because neither, I think Lando said something recently too, where it was like, oh, we shouldn't be talking about the car. Shut up. I cannot.
The car's 40 seconds ahead of the next car. It is the car, buddy.
I cannot convey how much I don't enjoy watching these two at the front every weekend. And I think if Oscar could, at bare minimum, pull some kind of putting his foot down for a team that is ready and willing to sacrifice him at every single second. What are we, genuinely, what are you doing?
And what bothers me the most is that I don't mind watching Oscar win. Because he actually earns the wins. He drives brilliantly. Name me a win this season that Lando Norris hasn't had handed to him.
I can't.
Name me a win ever that Lando Norris has not had handed to him. They don't exist. Every single race he has won has come from somebody else fucking up. Yes, that is Formula One. You got to be on your best. Every single time you go out there, your whole team has to be on the best. There's not been a risky overtake. There's not been a dive down the inside that has worked out for him to get him in the lead. Every time he has actively tried to win a race without it being handed to him, he's fucked it. That's what's so infuriating, is that one driver is earning his first place in this championship and one driver is not.
It's just a mid-off. And I don't know, I don't feel confident saying that Oscar is earning it in his own right, because that's not how F1 works.
No, it's not how F1 works.
But of the two of them, Oscar is the one actually driving. I think if they were more talented, and I say this about both of them, I think if they were more talented, it would be fine. I think they both have a level of insecurity, especially with the car being so good, where you look back at Max domination, and Max domination worked, I think, because the big question this year is, why was Max dominating working, and why is McLaren domination boring as fuck? And I think part of it is because Max has this just innate confidence in his talent, if not himself. He knows who the fuck he is. And I don't think Lando and Oscar have that same perspective of themselves. And so I think they both know that the car is elevating them very high. And they are, in some cases, taking it a little bit further every now and then. And so I think there's a level of insecurity in the sense of like, you guys have spent the last 4 or 5 years knowing that there's nothing you can do to beat Max Verstappen. And now you're winning the championship because your car is good and his isn't as good.
Yeah, they're not winning it outright.
Yeah, you're not winning it because you're beating him to the first corner. You're winning it because he's fucked.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's winning. You're not winning it because Lewis Hamilton is fighting you every step of the way in his Mercedes. You're not winning it because you've out-intimidated Fernando Alonso. That's what's crazy about this year.
Here's the thing, is that, yeah, you can say, well, Max in 2022, 2023 was, driving a vastly better car than everyone else. And so did he win it outright? Here's the thing. He was still pulling extraordinary shit week in and week out, proved his championship caliber. When you're 30 seconds ahead, you don't fuck around swapping your drivers. You do a pit stop to try and get the fastest lap. That's a champion.
Right. And if you're not doing a pit stop, you're fucking with your settings on your own volition to just see what happens.
The thing about Max's championship drives when there's no competition is that he was still pushing himself to perfection.
Right. Right.
He wasn't just cruising along like Oscar and Lando are, getting it handed to them. He was still pushing every time. He was winning outright.
Say what you will about 2021. I'm not here to get into that. But I don't think you can make the same argument about Max that you can about Lando and Oscar this year.
No.
Because Max, it went down to the last race of the season in 2021. That was a cutthroat season.
You can argue that Lewis was the one being handed second chances left and right.
You could make that argument. I'm scared too.
I'm scared too as well. So let's move on.
Move on.
So Lando Norris wins his home race. I want to die. This is the first time that Lewis Hamilton has not been on the podium at Silverstone in 13 years. I want to die.
Which is bonkers behavior. Like,
Bonkers
talk about
behavior.
records.
God. And then Nico fucking Hulkenberg, who is the F1 driver with the longest time between his career start and no podium whatsoever.
Yeah. Fun fact gone. Sad. But also happy. It was very cute.
It was very happy. There's a video of his daughter just losing her absolute mind. Gabby Bortoletto, who was famously one of the rookies murdered during the race, was like,
came back to life for a brief phone call.
Called him up over the radio, like overjoyed.
You know, those like F1 romance novels.
It was giving F1 romance novel. It was.
It was giving like WAG on the radio during the race being like, but what about the baby? I also thought it was really sweet. I think it was Mercedes and Aston Martin sent over champagne to the steak team because they just don't have any.
They're like, why would we bring champagne? Kevin Magnussen was in the
oh my God,
garage.
Kevin was there. That was crazy.
Everything aligned perfectly for Nico Hulkenberg.
Lando was a huge fucking cunt to him in the cooldown room.
Lando and Oscar both. I got bone to pick with you two. This guy who is older than both of you, who has been driving since before you were born. Not really.
Do I think
close.
Nico Hulkenberg is like one of the best drivers of this era? Absolutely fucking not. But he has a level of seniority over them that is undeniable. And the way that they treated him was disgusting.
He's just podiumed for the first
time ever
in 290 race starts in a Sauber, and you don't deign to spray champagne on him on the podium.
It was so disgusting.
Brats.
No, you know what that is? You know what that is? Ageism.
It's ageism, and they are. I can't even talk about it because I'm like irate.
Nico Hulkenberg is also like 36. Like, come on.
He's 37.
My point stands.
The last thing that I want to say on Nico Hulkenberg is that he has more points in the last 3 races than Red Bulls combined.
And this is a great segue to welcome you once more to the Christian Horner is Over party. You can find your party favors at the door. We're all taking shots every hour on the hour. And we're dancing the fucking night away.
Sebastian Vettel's on one table go-go dancing. Daniel Ricciardo's doing shoeies on the bar. Alex Albon is singing karaoke.
Pierre Gasly is tearing it the fuck up on the dance floor. Daniel Kvyat is pouring drinks behind the bar. Adrian Newey is having a sick-ass time.
Jev is there. He's having a good time.
All jokes aside, the biggest story that I don't think outlets are actually talking about right now is sexual assault allegations that seemed largely credible and were later cleared by an in-house internal investigation. If that wasn't enough for them to kick him to the curb, still an evil place, still an evil amount of people, still
Very
an
much
evil
so.
place. I think that should be kind of like a guiding principle of this story. But it won't be, because of course it won't be.
It won't be. The reasons that were given speculatively that he was sacked, and not just sacked, by the way, as team principal, but also sacked as CEO. He is out completely on a random ass Wednesday morning.
I was reading something that seemed to suggest he is still employed by Red Bull, but is not involved in organizational decision-making or logistics, which just means, what the fuck? It is all super unclear. Like you said, we do know he has been removed from his position as team principal and CEO effective immediately.
The reasons that were given were performance, and then kind of the hinge is the unnecessary contract extension that was given to Checo.
Which is crazy, because they had to buy him the fuck out.
Because they had to buy him the fuck out for a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And you know what's so wild and vindicating and delicious is that both the performance issues and the Checo contract issue falls back on one decision that man made.
Daniel Ricciardo is the linchpin to a lot of this. Checo they needed that money so bad. They needed that Kit Kat money.
They didn't have to sign him for a 1+1.
They needed that Kit Kat money bad.
They needed the Kit Kat money. They needed to break off a chunk of that Kit Kat bar.
Like monetarily. I was thinking about it this morning because when you look at 2023, who was helping to develop that car?
Daniel Ricciardo.
And Max multiple times said that the work Daniel was doing at the factory and in the sim was a huge part of how successful that car was. Taking that with a grain of salt that Max is genuine friends with Daniel and wanted him to get recognition, I think that is still a true statement. Because the second
100%.
he got in the V-carb, the Red Bull started going a little bit more off the rails.
And the V-carb, if not
better.
for him, started getting better.
Right.
There is famously one driver who has the same driving style as Max Verstappen, or a similar driving style.
Yeah,
and we've talked about all of
this.
It should have been Daniel in that seat from whatever.
You and I agree on this. It is, unfortunately, the end of that. This is the hill I'll die on till the cows come home. But I think with the Christian Horner thing, what's very interesting too is that it's not just that. It is a series of big issues, one of which is the sexual assault allegations, which are a brand nightmare, let alone horrific.
Ethical nightmare.
Just horrific. There are the performance issues, which I think Daniel is a part of. Adrian Newey is a part of. Losing Jonathan Wheatley, I think, was a huge, huge problem. I think the fact that Red Bull for so long was apparently unable to build up their engineering staff to function in any sort of way without Adrian Newey. Yost has been on the record for the last year or so saying that they don't have confidence in the engineering team anymore. Those are all management issues that come from a man who is so greedy and so used to having all the power and the money in the world at his disposal that he can't even see past it anymore.
Yeah.
And then you get into Max Verstappen. Because the third thing that people are suggesting that this is part of is that it has been very apparent that Max is getting more and more frustrated, more and more upset. This has been happening for the last 2.5 years. Not much has changed. And Jos Verstappen, for years, has been butting heads with Horner. Marco is butting heads with Horner on the side of the Verstappens. This is like an internal civil war that has been going on for years with the Thai Red Bull investors, with the Austrians. The third thing is Max. And this tells us that either Christian Horner has failed to keep Max in the Red Bull family, and they are getting rid of him because he has failed, or keeping Max means they need to get rid of Christian. One of those things may be true. We don't know. We don't know. But it
We don't know.
is one of the three things that is rotating around.
They very well could both be true.
They could. Ultimately, the thing that we can know for sure, well, maybe not for sure, but it is being reported that I think it's Oliver Mintzlaff, who is part of the Austrian contingent. He, over the last 4 or 5 days, apparently has been in solo talks with Max Verstappen and his team. So that is just information I am delivering to you. And then the craziest thing, this is my favorite part, is that apparently Max is also on a boat right now. Max is on a boat.
He's in Italy.
He is off the coast of, I think, like Sardinia.
Yep.
On a boat.
Yep.
Guess who is also going to the coast of Sardinia on a boat now?
Is it Torger Wolf?
It is Torger Wolf. He is going on a very spontaneous summer vacay.
Little cruise, little yacht trip.
To Sardinia. Totally unrelated.
Totally unrelated from all of the Maxades rumors that have been floating around. And
100%.
George's desperate insistences that he's not going anywhere and that his contract talks are going great.
Totally great.
Totally great. Yeah, that's just a really random, crazy happenstance.
So crazy. Small world, right?
Small world.
There are a couple of HR updates I would like to share as well.
Yes, please. What is the HR Red Bulletin?
So, update from the HR office. 2 people have also left Red Bull at the same time in what some outlets are calling a mass exodus, which, LOL.
You need to learn what mass means.
I know. Also, exodus. It's 2 people.
Two things.
If there's one thing that is the exact opposite of a mass exodus, it is 2 people.
It's 2 people. Yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
So the 2 that have left at the same time essentially are Chief Marketing Officer Oliver Hughes and I think one of their Director of Comms, Paul Smith. I do believe I've heard rumblings about further exits from their engineering team. That could still be happening. But it does seem as though things are happening. In another HR update that I don't fucking understand, Laurent Mekies is taking over as Red Bull team principal.
They needed somebody that they didn't have to have gardening leave for.
Well, yeah, I understand that. Laurent Mekies is, listen, say what you will about Christian Horner, and I will say a lot. He is one of the main reasons that Red Bull dragged itself up out of the midfield. Laurent Mekies is not on that level.
What has he done besides fire Daniel Ricciardo? Nothing.
Okay, actually, he's had a very interesting career. Hate to say that.
I hate to say it. The man's actually quite interesting.
No, here's the thing. If they had just sacked Christian Horner when the allegations first came out and Jonathan Wheatley was team principal, we would not fucking be here.
So true.
Daniel
Ricciardo would be in the second Red Bull seat.
Adrian Newey wouldn't have left.
And now you've got Lawrence Stroll handing out roses and champagne to any passing engineering department member from Red Bull. I'm going to be the CMO of Red Bull, and Zoe's going to be the chief communications officer.
Look at us, moving up in the world.
And we do a hell of a better job. So, rest in peace, Christian Horner.
Honestly, fuck that guy. From the bottom of my heart, fuck that guy.
I would like to end on one factoid.
Hit me.
This is the first day of Kimi Antonelli's life that Christian Horner is not team principal of Red Bull.
And honestly, what a beautiful day it is.
It's like being born again.
Kimi, I would like to congratulate you and welcome you to the rest of your life. And on that lovely note, we don't have an F1 race next weekend.
In 2 weeks, we have Belgium, so who knows when we'll make our predictions for that. I'm sure there will be no news coming out of F1 next week.
Should we spend some time next week talking about F1 Academy docuseries?
We should.
I think that would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun. Women.
I
just think that women. Anything else we want to talk about in the great wide world of motorsport?
Oh, we do have another player who is running against MBS for FIA director, which just means that MBS is running his mouth, making all sorts of promises.
Carlos Sainz is not running. Sad, sad day.
Yeah, that was a rough one. His name is Tim Mayer.
Tim.
He is a longtime official in U.S. motorsport, the son of McLaren co-founder Teddy, and has joined the race in a press conference ahead of the British GP. Unfortunately, while I agree with his entire campaign and everything that he is working on. He's really focused on integrity, energy, transparency, all things that MBS hates. I don't love that it's the son of a McLaren co-founder.
I know, but McLaren today is so far from McLaren that was founded. I don't think it's going to be such an issue.
And I do love a U.S. guy at the top. I think that would be
This
nice.
is what I'm saying. I think we should have an American Pope, American FIA president. We're taking over.
Oh my God. You're so fucking right. I forgot. Please forgive me. I forgot about Chicago Pope.
That brings us to the grid as ... which for the uninitiated is a point in our podcast where we categorize a handful of riders and drivers from across the great wide world of motorsport as a person, place, thing, idea, concept. And today, in honor of Christian Horner being fired, we are going to do riders and drivers as songs with the word fire in them. Stick with us. Stick with us on this one.
Marc Marquez is my first choice because duh, I am who I am. And it's actually, I didn't choose this theme intentionally, but it is actually perfect because Mark's song is Sex on Fire by Kings of Leon.
Knew it.
Which famously was playing at
when
Ascent.
His sex got on fire.
Metaphorically.
In a tire rash burn type way.
Kind of way. Yeah. Then I'm going to go with Fire Drill by Melanie Martinez for Marco Bezzecchi. I think he's a weird girl pop kind of guy.
He's a little weird girl.
Right. I think he'd really vibe with some like weird girl pop.
100%. Okay. Max Verstappen, Set Fire to the Rain, Adele.
Oh, yeah. Because that's like what he loves to do.
Loves to set fire to the rain. Fantastic wet weather driver. Brazil literally was set fire to the rain.
There was lightning.
I'm going to go for a driver who maybe rumors returning to the grid, may not be. We don't really know. Jack Doohan is I'm on Fire by Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, little girl's your daddy home.
His dad's hot. So there's that.
His dad's hot.
Maddie, that's for you.
Hey, little girl's your daddy home. What a weird song.
Love Jack Doohan. Love that choice.
George Russell, Cried to Firework by Katy Perry.
Oh, yeah. He does feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, looking to start again.
George cried to it, but Charles is that plastic bag.
And in some ways, so is Lewis.
So true. Shout out to the real MVP of the British Grand Prix, Roscoe Hamilton, my king.
No, shout out to safety car driver, Bert. Is his name Bert? I think it's Bert.
It's Bernard.
Oh, man.
It's Bernard, but with no A.
Burned?
Yep.
Well, all right.
German
we learned something new today.
Right back around.
We learned something new today.
Burned Maylander is we didn't start the fire.
Yeah, no, he really didn't start the fire.
Because he didn't light it, but he's trying to fight it.
Okay, we got to be done now.
Anyways, that brings us to the end of the podcast. Next week, we'll talk Sachsenring, maybe some F1 Academy on Netflix. We'll check it out. Make sure to like, share, rate, review, follow, comment, engage with any and all of the above our podcast on any and all channels. We are up now on Amazon, I think, iHeartRadio, Player FM. I put us up on a bunch of different ones. And come hang out with us on Instagram, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, and our new website, motomouths.com, where we have merch for sale.
It's fun. It's very comfortable.
Very comfy, cute merch. So go check it out. Help support your favorite MotoGP, Motorsports, and More pod. And if we're not your favorite, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Let's keep chatting soon.
See you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.